Dear audience, welcome to this show POWERchat. In today's episode, we'll be discussing about science and technology research in Nepal. Joining us today is Dr. Ashim Dhakal, co-founder and chief scientist at Phutung Research Institute. Please allow me to welcome him. Welcome to this show, Dr. Dhakal.
Thank you very much.
Well, you have been into the area of science and technology research after your return to Nepal.
Yeah.
How do you see the research culture in Nepal in relation to science and technology?
Yeah. The reason why actually I came back to Nepal is after feeling that the state of science and technology development is horrible. That's why I thought I should do something, at least something, whatever I can do. And so it's horrible, as I said. And the reason why it is horrible is because it is not of area of priority for government of Nepal, for the society, and for the media, for the whole system at large. So it's horrible. There are several things that we need to do, and I think I should do something. That's why I came back and trying to do something here.
What are you trying to do through this initiative that you established with an institute focusing on science and technology research?
Well, so me along with my friends, we have established an institute called Phutung Research Institute, where we focus on cutting-edge research, but which is aimed at solving the problems in developing countries. So far, all the research in the world, they are focused on developed countries for more technology, for making rich people richer. But here in this research institute, we want to focus on the technologies that are very much relevant to developing countries like Nepal.
Well, how do you differentiate research in general and science and technology research?
I don't think there is such a significant difference, because research itself means like taking data, analyze the data, and actually getting some inference out of the data. In science and technology, it's much more visual, so you can repeat it quite. But maybe that is not so much, repeatable in social sciences, because social science is a very dynamic and non-linear system. So a few changes here and there might change the result quite a bit. But in science and technology, things are much more concrete, so it's more repeatable. So that's the only difference. Otherwise, science and technology research and research in general should be, the method should be the same, in my opinion.
At the beginning, you said that the situation is horrible.
Yeah.
It's not, the environment is not conducive
here
in Nepal.
Yeah.
Do you mean that it's not the priority area by government and by the policymakers?
Yeah.
There are some initiatives here in Nepal who have a separate ministry called Science and Technology.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you see this in particular? It's not prioritized by the government, and what should be done so that government puts this issue in its priority?
Yeah, so well, let's go back to about 10 to 12 years back, when these Ministry of Science and Technology, and at that time it was Science, Technology and Environment probably. So the reason why the whole ministry was set up was not because they wanted to do something on science and technology. That was not their idea of establishing this ministry. The idea was to make one portfolio for one minister, and only, in my opinion, that was their objective. And to justify this statement, what I would say is, because after the establishment of that ministry, they have not done anything significant. So there was NAST, but NAST is trying to do something, but of course that's not it's not visible what they are trying to do and what they have been doing. And the Science and Technology Ministry, they have not promulgated any law so far. So they have devised some sort of policy, they would say, since 10 years. And if you see the policy, it's ridiculous what you see there. So their number one prioritized field is nuclear technology. And number two prioritized technology is space technology. So Nepal. So
what is the relevance of those technologies here in Nepal?
So and there is a very nice reason why they actually set up these priorities. The reason is they want donations from IAEA, the International Agency for Atomic Energy. They want money from them. They want to go visit, outside. They want to go for training and whatever they want to do. And that is not. They have not devised this priority field based on Nepal's need. That's very clear. And so whatever the activities they have done since 10 years, is all ridiculous and it's all laughable. It's so much. So they have, and recently, if you we probably know that recently there is a bill on safe use of nuclear energy. So they want to regulate and facilitate the development of nuclear technology in Nepal. But this is very specific field. But before doing this, what they should have done is, what about the overall science and technology field? So unless and until you think about the overall science and technology field, you cannot go on to a very specific field, in very specific nuclear technology, which we will never use for 10 years coming, unless we want to get, the nuclear waste from nuclear countries. So if they want to dump it, only then we will be using this law. Otherwise, I don't think there is any relevance of this particular law unless and until we develop science and technology in general in Nepal. So these are the ridiculous things.
Do you have any specific suggestions to the government and to these all initiatives so that the idea of science and technology research would be materialized here in Nepal? Very specific suggestions.
Yeah, sure. First of all, as I said, we need a law facilitating all scientific and technological research in Nepal. We need what sort of mechanism shall we develop to? So there should be, we have to do homework on developing a mechanism to facilitate interdisciplinary research. For example, if I want to develop an optical technology for example, for farming, for agricultural applications, there is no mechanism right now. There is no law. There is no clear-cut policy how to facilitate this sort of interdisciplinary research. So, for example, I'm doing a research on health using photonics technology. So when I went to the government, they said, "Oh, you should go to health ministry." And when I go to health ministry, no, there is nothing of our prioritized area in you are not doing any.
So government is confused in relations to policy.
Exactly. So they have to formulate clear-cut policy, clear-cut law, and what we need is an organization or a mechanism which will facilitate this sort of research. And we need more funding. And there should be the private institutions like ours. So there are several budding new research organizations that are coming in recent years. So there should be a unified system to organize all of us, to give affiliation, to facilitate. For example, whenever we get any scientific equipment from outside, we have to. Scientific equipments are to begin with, they are very costly, and on top of that, we have to pay a huge amount of VAT and import taxes. So these sort of things, while we are getting those equipments either from donations or from our pockets, so those equipments, when we have to pay more taxes, so we are not being very much helped by the government. So these are the things that they have to be very much prioritized before actually doing any nuclear technology or whatever they are trying to do here.
So there is no coordination among the ministries in your observation as well?
No, not at all actually. Actually, I have very bitter experiences when I have been visiting, the several universities, ministries, in context of my research and our activities, whatever I'm trying to do.
Well, Dr. Dhakal, how do you link science and technology research into the process of society and development in context of Nepal?
Yeah, so actually one of the biggest convictions I have, and the people in Phutung and actually the group, we have another group called Nepal Research Alliance, which is private sector young researchers group. So all of us, we believe strongly that Nepal cannot develop the society as a whole and the political system as a whole, the economic system as a whole. It will not develop unless we develop science and technology. So that's a strong convictions, and that we can see from our everyday newspapers. So there is Chaupari, there is Boxi, there is all this superstitious society we have. So all of this cannot be mitigated, and unless we develop science and technology, and unless we develop science and technology, we cannot develop our economics. We cannot produce interesting new stuff. We cannot sell anything. We cannot just do anything if we are not scientifically thinking. So even in our society, in political scenario, we have to think scientifically. We have to make our policies in terms of on the basis of evidence. And this is what science is, right? So we have to develop scientific thinking, scientific culture in our whole cultural system, our economic system. So there is a lot to do in terms of science and technology in Nepal.
Do you think that the same opportunity is provided to aspiring, researchers here in Nepal, especially in relations to academic exercises in schools or universities?
No. Well, that is very clearly visible because the scientific output of Nepal is, there is a ranking, the World Innovation Forum, it has ranked 124 out of 126. So probably Afghanistan, even Afghanistan is better. I think few war-ridden countries are ahead of us. So we are worse in terms of scientific output, and in terms of scientific capital, we are 120, about 120 out of 126. So our human capital is scientifically very bad. Our output is very bad, and the reason is because the schooling, our education system, has not put enough effort onto building scientific manpower to inculcate, to teach science basically in proper manner.
Could you also tell us about the biophotonics and its scope here in Nepal?
So any field of research, most probably not nuclear technology, space technology, probably out of, except for these two technologies and maybe some other things. Most of the technologies are relevant everywhere, right? So biophotonics, though it sounds very new to Nepal, it solves very concrete problem in Nepal. So, for example, if we want to analyze water, so water contamination is a big problem in Nepal. So, if we want to analyze water, one of the cheapest way to do that is using optical technologies, all right? And biophotonics means it consists of bio and photonics, and photon consists of photon and X. Photon means light particle, so like electron is electron, right? Electronics is any technology that uses electron and uses electron to do something. So photon, if there is any technology that uses light particles, which are photons, to do something, they are called photonics. So biophotonics is using photonics to solve biological problems. And one of the biological problem is, for example, water contamination. For example, in agriculture, identifying nitrifying bacteria and bacterial activities and stuff like that. And for example, what we are focusing right now is developing sensors to detect, for example, COPD, the problem in respiration. That is #1 killer in Nepal. So we are trying to. So biophotonics is a technology that uses light and lasers to solve biological problems, and in context of Nepal, it is very much relevant because it gives us very cheap devices to solve, to detect a lot of things, to do imaging, for sensing, and maybe also for if we really want to go into a new technological revolution that is coming in the world. So that the new technological revolution is so-called photonics revolution that is coming. So your computers is most probably going to be optical. So right now all the currents are moving. So later on it's going to be, the processor will be optical. So if we want to move into that direction, if we want to be in part of the new technology that's coming, so we have to invest already in photonics field.
Well, you recently established with the Phutung Research Institute. Why did you realize that you should start with such initiative, and how are you going to make change in the context of Nepal? You were questioning the government context here.
Yeah. So the reason so I had like two options when I finished my PhD to do postdoc, remain in the in Europe or US. I had several job offers already then, but I thought, okay, no, I should be there where I'm more relevant. So as I've been very critical to the government, to the society, to our culture, because I never felt very proud of whatever happened in context of science, right? So I always said, nobody did anything about that. But when I finished my PhD, I thought, if nobody did that, there should be somebody to do that. And I thought, okay, maybe I should go and try to organize some people to do really do that thing. That's why I came back. I organized a few people who share this conviction that we have to do something, right? That developing science and technology is the only remedy to solve the problem in developing countries. And we all collected together, we incorporated Phutung Research Institute, and now we are doing quite some good work. I think we have developed Nepal's first nanophotonics chip. So nanophotonics technology is a technology which is very much difficult also for the developed countries. What we have done here is we have developed the infrastructure to do this research, to design this, to do the simulations of how the optics, the light move in the very minute nanostructures, and how to use them, and how to characterize them, how to measure those small structures, like in nanometer scale precision. So this is something that has never been done in Nepal, and we have done it from our own private initiative. And why we thought we should do this is because we have now shown, if we can do with very limited budget, with only passion in our mind and in our hand, a lot of hard work, we can do this. And for the people in NAST and for people in the universities in Nepal, I want to say, shame on you, because you cannot do anything. You never demonstrated. We are ranked 124 out of 126. That's your research output. Now we have come into the game. We will make it from 24 to 23 maybe, or maybe 21, maybe 20. But we're gonna do that, and we're gonna show you. And that's my sort of message to the people who've been involved in research so far in Nepal.
What are your other priorities with this institute, and do you think that after 10 or 15 years, people in Nepal would be able to say that you have done a commendable job in the areas of innovation, technology, and science research?
Yeah. So our actually vision is, of course, to develop Nepal, to take the Nepal in the front line of the technological research. We don't know. We cannot foretell the future, right? So we need a lot of funding. We need a lot of conducive laws, rules, and regulations. So what, from our perspective, from our side, what I'm going to assure you and the viewers is that we're going to do our best. We're going to do the cutting edge research, which is beneficial for Nepal. We're going to put our whole heart and whole effort and whatever is needed to that. And if we get enough environment, enough let's say investment, we need a lot of money as well, to do this research. But even if we do not have a lot of money, we still are doing things. We started without money actually, but if we have all necessary actually at least minimum things that are needed, we will do a fantastic job. In 15 years, we will have several patents that will be valorized, that will produce products that will be very much valuable to the world. They will put a lot of money into our research, our produce. I think in not only 15 years time, but I will say in 5 years time, we will have a lot of things. Maybe we will not change the whole Nepal, but we will have a lot of, we'll have already demonstrated that Nepalese technology is a valuable technology in the world. That is, I think, we can do in 5 years time. And that's what Phutung is trying to strongly work on.
Don't you think that you have a role to play for policy contribution? Because from the beginning, you are saying that Nepal lacks laws in relation to science and technology research here in Nepal. How can you contribute towards policy preparation or new legislations
Yeah.
in the context?
So, so me as well as like our team, we've been in constant touch with the Ministry of Science and Technology, with all the, and also with the ministers, with the policymakers, as well as the bureaucrats. So we've been in constant touch and giving them suggestions, actually a list of suggestions. So actually in this this file, I have got like a list of suggestions I have given them. Well, I cannot read all of them, but I have been doing this, and not me only. Like, we have a team. We've been thinking about what are the things that needs to be done. We've been constantly giving them these suggestions, but of course, we need some couple of years which will listen to us. Of course, but we've been pushing. We'll be fighting. We will make this happen, and then we will come to the media. We will basically, media should be on our side in this effort of ours. But we are doing our job in that direction, and of course it is one of our utmost duty to actually change the policies, to implement new policies, to actually to make those policies effective, and actually to implement those policies. And that is one of the biggest challenges, to implementation of the policies, right? So, but we will be working on fighting towards this.
What are your suggestions to the aspiring, science and technology researchers?
If they are researchers, I would say, try to think something new. Of course, research is always about thinking new, try to solve the problem in a new way. But also try to think about your society, about humanity. So not only you have to think about your society, you have to start from yourself, family, society, your country, probably, and the world. So basically you have to build your... So when you do science, science alone, if it's not guided, it does not produce anything, any good impact onto in the world. But if you think about your society, there will be good impact. You will change quite a lot. That's my actually suggestion to the new aspiring researchers. But if somebody is already has some research credentials already, and they really want to do this, and I would also, if they have some like vision of willingness of doing something for their society, they have to come to the society, to listen to the society, and to see what is the real problem there, and try to solve those problems. And I would say, if there are some researchers who are outside Nepal, or like, not really having qualms about whether to come or not, I would say, come to the society, listen to us, listen to the society, and try to solve those problems.
Do you have any plan to explore your institute, Phutung Research Institute, to other parts of this country as well? There are many aspiring researchers who are, quite interested in science and technology.
Yes, yeah. So actually, one of the projects we have been thinking is to actually build science parks in several parts of Nepal, where children and even society, the members of society, all people, any members of society can come to the park and can learn science and technology. So we have this plan. Of course, we want to not only go to different parts of Nepal, but to go to other developing countries, because the problem has to be solved everywhere, not only Nepal. It has to be solved in Africa, in India, for example, in China, Bangladesh, Pakistan. So China, Africa, so in Brazil. So we want to, ideally we want to go everywhere and try to solve their problem. But of course we have to start from very small, and we will see how we can grow and go forward.
Well, Dr. Dhakal, there are many interesting issues, but we are coming to the end of the show. Do you have anything to tell our audience that I have left to ask you very quickly?
Well, I think Nepal has a big potential in science and technology. So the new generation, they are very enthusiastic. What they do not have is the right guidance, right education, probably. If we can somehow make that happen, so Nepal will be in the forefront of science and technology research. But so to the audience, and if there are any policy makers listening to us, what I would like to say is, if we make a very conducive science and technology research, and if we put a proper education system in place, Nepal will prosper just because Nepal will be developed in science, because the people here are so enthusiastic. The new generation particularly, they are enthusiastic about the new technology.
Well, Dr. Dhakal, thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pant.
Dear audience, time now to wrap up the show. Keep watching us. See you next week. Namaste.